Welcome to the Armchair GM Podcast.
Hey, how about that
This is
comeback?
exciting. Jeez. Apparently we're a last 40-minute team all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, we've never been a first minute team, that's for sure.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Holy shit, they fell apart in that first period, but I'm sure glad they got their composure back. Not sure what
Right?
speech Huska gave them, but it worked.
It absolutely worked. Man, how about Anthony Mantha that game?
I mean, not a bad debut with a new team, I guess, right? The Gordy. The Gordy hat trick plus penalty. The only thing he was missing was a suspension and a game misconduct. I think is really all he had left to do there.
Right?
It
Like,
was impressive.
that's how you make an impact with your new team right away, right? Like,
Yeah.
I've been seeing posts, even people saying, like, oh, look, this is my new favorite player already. Like, it's been one game. Holy smokes.
Yeah. I mean, let's slow down a little bit. I mean, it's
Right?
I'm happy for what he did tonight, but I would still rather see somebody a little younger playing in the A get that opportunity myself. But I mean, he was fun to watch tonight for sure, and it's good to see somebody on the team actually stand up for our players after take a hit like that, right? And Rooney went down. It was a scary moment for him. Not a dirty hit or anything like that. Just it's an unfortunate scenario and really off balance, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I saw some people saying it was dirty, but I don't think that was even slightly a dirty hit. Like, it was a clean
No.
hit. He was far away from the boards and he just fell awkwardly and unfortunately buried himself into the boards a little bit, kind of got caught up on a stick kind of on the way down. Scary stuff, but at the same time, no, he got up on his own. I think he left on the stretcher, but he got up on his own, which is good. Did he leave on the stretcher or did they just bring it out?
They brought it out. No, he skated off the ice and walked to the dressing room.
Yeah.
I you know I didn't find the hit dirty myself. It was unfortunate that he was two almost 3 feet away from the board, so that kind of help the impact and help with the awkwardness of what was going on there. But he was off balance on one skate. Um, you know, the puck was touched. Like there was really nothing dirty about it, other than the fact that if he was turned slightly, it could have been called for boarding. But other than that, I mean, I don't think it was anything malicious or dirty. It's just how the game's played, right? It's a rough game. You get caught sometimes if you're off balance, and you just got to keep your head up.
Absolutely. So Ryan's asking, is Manta the guy we fucking needed for how many years?
I mean, you know what? Mantha would have been a nice addition to the team 3 years ago.
Right? Like,
3 years
or
ago. Yeah.
back when we got Neil, like, and I still stand by this to this day. Out of all the stupid things Brad Treliving did, like, James Neal was what we needed at the time. Like, we needed a right winger that could score, but it turned out that he sucked. Anthony Mantha,
Yeah.
same kind of player type,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical, but who knows? Maybe he is that guy we needed.
I think
Bible
that
says that puck looked away from me. I think she's saying
Miller touched it, right? Miller touched it right before the hit.
yeah, Miller touched it right before the hit, but it was still like pretty much in Rooney's feet. I think like it wasn't
Yeah. Well,
egregious at all.
it went through his feet. Miller touched it, and just half a second before the hit happened.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those. Like, would you even call it a hit? It was almost just like Miller was bracing for the impact and got the
Mm.
better of it.
Yeah, I don't think the play was to make a hit there. I think the hit happened.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think
Like
that
Ryan says, it's unfortunate, but kind of a freak accident. I totally agree with that. It just happened, right? Like it's a high speed game, and I mean Rooney was so far away from the boards, like 99 out of 100 times that ends up with a guy on the ice in front of him, not like 7 feet to the side, right? In the boards. Incidental contact mostly. Doggy says, let's hope Huberto can keep this energy and play all season. Yeah, I noticed some weird things from Huberto, like not from Huberto today, but I noticed some weird things from the coaching staff when it came to Huberto today. Like
Yeah,
he was on the PK,
yeah.
and that was weird to me.
He had a different game for sure. He was engaged in a lot of what was happening. I I like seeing him in the position he was given by Huska tonight. He's supposed to be one of our leaders. There's no reason why he can't defend the puck in our own zone on the PK. I mean, he's good at taking the puck away from people. He's good at getting the puck out of the zone. So I think give him the opportunity. Let's see what he can be as a leader. He's supposed to be a top line player, so why shouldn't he play all scenarios, right?
Yeah, no, and I hope he does. And that go ahead goal, he scored the go ahead goal, right?
Yeah.
In the third period. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was a nice little move, but I mean, it wasn't like I thought he was around it the whole game. Like I thought
Yeah.
he was invisible for much of the game, but then kind of in the third period he started
Yeah.
flying a little bit. Like, flying is the wrong term because he never flies when it comes to skating, but he was flying offensively and starting to look a little dynamic, and then he scored.
Yeah, you're right. For the first 40, he certainly wasn't one of the top five players on the ice, but he did have a very strong third.
Yeah,
And
and
that's what winners do, right? When you're mounting a comeback, you're pushing to try and take the lead, and that's when he started to excel and accelerate his game a bit. So that's kind of what you're looking for from your over $10 million player.
absolutely. And if he could continue that, like I think he got one point, he got that goal. But if he can continue that kind of pace, like when it comes to point pace, and if he can continue that, um, you know, style of play and chemistry, he's kind of showing a little bit. Then yeah, absolutely, like that would be really exciting. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I am. Sorry about that, everybody. It's good for the player, right? We all know that he struggles with confidence.
Yeah,
So I think having a stellar third period, getting that go ahead goal is just gonna help him throughout the season, right? If we can get his confidence going, his play's gonna improve, and life will just be better with that.
absolutely. Fraggle saying, can we talk about Vladdy without his bucket? I'm
Yeah.
actually curious what you think about that because I
My thought on that is
yeah,
is very simple. It's well within the rules. The rules state that if the goalie loses his mask or his helmet in that situation, if the Flames have control of the puck, the play is called dead. If there's not a scoring opportunity in the making or already in the process, then the play is dead. The
but there
Canucks
was a
had a
scoring
very
opportunity.
yeah,
The
they had a
rules
very
say that.
clear
I don't
scoring
know the rule on
opportunity.
that.
Yeah, so they had a clear scoring opportunity when it happened. It's unfortunate, but yeah, the refs aren't going to call that dead.
Yeah, and the way I looked at it too is it happened away from the puck. Like the puck had squeaked out when he lost
Mhm.
his helmet, and the refs are following the puck right with their eyes.
Yeah.
And by the time the refs looked back, yeah, Vlad didn't have a helmet, but he also didn't have, or the puck was already in the net, right? So like it was a bang bang play. It was so fast. Like He lost his
Yeah.
helmet, and it was like 1 second or less before they scored. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was right away, and even if you look at the refs and the linesmen when they were conversing after the fact, the one ref was watching the jumbotron to look at the replay,
Yeah,
and as soon as you see it, it's unfortunate. That's just the way the rule is written.
yeah.
If there would have been like a pass back to the defense or anything during that scenario, they would have called it, right?
Oh no, no,
But because
absolutely, and
the puck was on his stick right in front of the net, getting ready to shoot, and so they got to keep it going.
yeah.
Yeah,
She's asking if it was any other team, do you think it would have been called? Yes, I do, and I just honestly the refs hate the Flames or whatever. Like I'm not into that whole situation. That whole
no,
uh,
I don't necessarily believe that either. If it was any other team, the call would have been the same. It's literally how the rule was written.
yeah, and whether
Like I
it's
said, it.
the rule was written that way or not, it's not like the flame or the refs are out to get the Flames specifically, in my opinion. Anyways, I
Yeah,
like there was a couple iffy calls, but like there's iffy calls in every game for every team against every team. It's just the refs aren't bad for the Flames. The refs are just bad.
yeah, they
And
are just
that
bad. There
specific
was a
instance,
lot of
the ref
missed
wasn't
calls.
bad.
Yeah, no doubt. If like I said, if I can't remember who scored that goal in that scenario, but if he would have passed it to anybody, they would have called the play dead.
Absolutely.
But the puck was on his stick and he was getting ready to shoot, so they let it slide.
Yeah. Everyone watching, make sure you get in and ask us some questions or comment on the win. I'm curious how you guys feel about the overtime. I was kind of surprised to see Zeri out there to begin with. As much as I love Zeri, I didn't think the coaches had quite that much trust in him, but he ends up
I,
scoring
are you
scoring that
saying that
goal.
simply because he didn't have a very good game?
I
Because
didn't
I
think he
didn't
had
think
a
that's.
bad game.
I don't think he had a bad game. He didn't have a good game, in my
No,
opinion.
I
Leading up to
noticed
that,
him. I thought he was really good in the first, and then obviously good in the overtime. But I didn't see him being really good throughout the game. I kind of thought he started good and then slowed down. But that goal was nice. It was kind of like a power forward move, and right from
yeah,
his office. His office is as close to the net as you can possibly get, and scoring almost with the like last chance diving opportunity. Like a lot of the time, he just now you
I
can check out our episode that we put out a couple days ago. Here, we had a little rant on Zeri. He's so good.
yeah, he's a very good player. So I have no hesitation putting him out in that scenario, and I don't think Huska does either. There's no reason to hold him off on that, right? He proved himself to be a playmaker and a goal scorer last year. So why not give him more ice, with less players? I mean, just
Mm.
make it happen. I'm sure the results will come with that.
I agree. I don't know. I really enjoy watching him. He was relatively invisible for 2 periods there, but again, the
Mhm.
first and the overtime, he was all over it. I found the first I saw a couple times where he kind of was protecting the puck, and a guy tried to hit him, and he just like kind of flinched a little bit, but then he picked the puck up and kept going. Like he's got some Kachuk esque puck puck protection skills. When like Kachuk did it with the
Mhm.
reverse hitting, but Zeri doesn't do the reverse hit. He just kind of stands there and doesn't fall over.
Yeah, that was one of my least favorite things that Kachuk did.
Yeah,
I hated that. I mean, I
that's
still
funny.
hate it because he still does it.
Yeah, well, a lot of the players do it nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Greg,
mean, as far as impact goes, it's smart to do. To me, I think it's cheap and dirty.
I think it's cheap if you raise your elbow, but I don't, or your shoulder even, but I don't think it's cheap if you just like put your butt into them or like lean back. But if you're like purposely throwing your elbow, that's kind of dirty. Greg says, at least you guys didn't pick up Archer Silvos. I don't even know how to say this kid's name still. Thinking he was a fantasy steal. You know what, Greg? I think he still will be a fantasy steal. And I hate to say that because we're in two of the same leagues together. But I still think he will be because the Canucks are going to be good just because they kind of gave up a lead in the first game of the season. I mean, a lot of those players didn't play a bunch of preseason games, and once they get their structure down, especially under a Talkit system, I kind of think that even with Demko coming back, Demko is just gonna be hurt. Like that injury he has it's no joke, and I think he's gonna play a bunch of games, but I don't think he's gonna be like vast majority starter. He might be majority starter, whereas Silvos is going to get lots of games, especially early on, and he's going to win a bunch of them. That's my thought, anyways. Canucks are good, man.
Yeah, I mean they're better. They're better than we are at the moment. Obviously they went through a few years of being dog shit, so they deserve some sort of kudos, I suppose. Other than the fact I despise them as a franchise. And they absolutely shit the bed after the first period. To allow a Flames team that was like on the verge of full on collapse to be able to claw back into that game was just, and that's on coaching too, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know what
I do respect Talkit, but I mean that was a terrible collapse by them for the last 40 minutes.
it absolutely was, and I don't think that's a Talkit thing. He's known for the defensive side of the game, so I think that was just the first game
Yeah,
of the
well, that's
season.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, obviously, the first few games of the season for all teams are going to be sloppy. Um, that was clearly not a defensive system that they were playing because they weren't playing defense pretty much at all, other than Hughes.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I even told my dad earlier today. My dad always messages me and asks me about the game and who I think's going to win and all that type of stuff. And they try and be really honest there. And I did say it's going to be high scoring, but we're going to win because the Canucks didn't play a lot of their vets a lot in preseason, so they're going to need to get their feet under them. And I kind of feel that that's what happened because, like you said, after the first period, the Canucks slowed down and the Flames, like shots were 5-15 for the Canucks at the beginning of the second. And then by the time the second ended, I think we were up like, I could be wrong, but I think it was like 20-18 or something like that. Like they just stopped trying. It's like they thought they had won. And they didn't really start trying again until maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes were left in the third period. And by that time they were behind, and then they had to score to come back, which, I mean, what a slap shot by JT Miller, but
yeah, that was a good shot. God
yeah,
damn it!
yeah,
And Hughes with that play to set that up was not bad. That play doesn't happen at all without Hughes, on defense in that scenario.
yeah. You're a big fan of Quinn Hughes, eh?
I don't mind him. There's no reason to not be a fan of him, in my opinion.
Yeah, a couple years
He's-
ago, I didn't think he played defense at all, and I don't think he really did. And I think part of the reason was that he had Chris Tanev to do that for him. And then throughout the last couple of years, he's really stepped up and become more of a well-rounded. He's still not physical, but he can't be,
yeah.
right. But he's really good with
Right,
his
he's not
stick.
big
Right?
enough for it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he obviously learned how to play defense from Chris Tanev.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just took him a couple of years to understand it and to become good at it.
Put it into
But yeah,
practice
no,
a little
you're
bit.
right. When he was playing with Tanev, he wasn't very good at defense because he didn't have to be. But if
Mm-hmm.
you look at pretty much everybody that Tanev's ever been paired up with, it's been that exact scenario.
Yeah. Um, And how about Backlund? We'll get to some of these questions in a second here, but how about Backlund just completely whiffing on the on the empty net? Like he took it from the neutral zone pretty much. And
Mhm.
I don't know why he chose to do that, but the second he wound up for that one, I was just like, well, it's
Just
Backlund,
listed in.
and
Yeah.
I knew that was going to like. I love Michael Backlund. He's one of my favorite players on the team simply because I really respect strong defensive play. But a guy who misses from right in front of the net should not be shooting, even if it's on an empty net. He shouldn't be shooting from the neutral zone, in my opinion.
No, and he likes to drive the net, so I'm surprised that he didn't go further, right? As
Yeah,
soon as he wound up, I thought he was just gonna simply miss the net.
yeah, and he did.
I mean, he didn't get through.
Yeah. I haven't even read this one yet. Um, Fraggle says, "What do you guys think about the lines?" I think they were juggled. Like they started. I don't think I'd have to look it up, but I don't think Honzek got all that much time in the last period. But
No.
I saw a few different line combinations. Zeri was moved everywhere. Backlund and Coleman were pretty much the only guys that stayed together. I saw Kadri playing with Klapka like on a face-off that wasn't an icing at one point.
Mhm.
I feel like they were everywhere. The lines
Well,
to
they had to.
start, in my opinion, were kind of a wreck. Um, and I don't know if it was the juggling that made them get better or what it was, but I thought the starting lines were kind of rough.
Yeah, they didn't start well. I mean, obviously they had to do some juggling with Rooney going down, early in the first. Um, Honzak ended up with 13 minutes, and I didn't think Klapka had a bad game on the fourth line, but he ended up with only 8.5 minutes, 8:48. So it's
Yeah, I saw him tangling up with Tyler Myers there. I was hoping that would turn into something like, me, I'm not huge into fighting or anything like that, but sometimes you see something and you're just like, yeah, I'd like to see that. Neither of those guys are fighters, but they're both fucking gigantic human beings.
yeah,
And I would have loved to have seen that. Um,
yeah,
Fraggle says, "Are you seeing some depth?" Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
think that
Depth is
the
developing
Flames
for
are a
sure.
9 forward team when it comes to scoring, and then their third line is, or their fourth line rather, is kind of a um, grinded out,
Didn't
supposed to be kind of physical, kind of a line. And honestly, like,
didn't
wasn't he like? I like Lomberg. I thought that he was trying a bit too hard tonight. I wasn't a huge fan of him today, but in general, and I know that you know 65, 70, 75 games this year, he's going to be my favorite player, right? So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just didn't
I'm
like
not
him
worried
tonight.
about Lomberg. Didn't Klapka lead the Wranglers in goals last year?
Uh, Points. It was either points or goals. I don't have it
Yeah,
up, but
points or goals.
yeah,
So I mean, when you have guys like that on your fourth line, you're going to get some depth scoring throughout the season.
absolutely.
You got Klapka and Lomberg on the fourth. Both those guys can put the puck in the net. I think Honzek is going to surprise a lot of teams this year. Once he gets his flow and he's able to drive the net and get that confidence that he can be a goal scorer in the NHL, I think you're going to get lost from there. Um, Obviously, I think Coleman's going to have a much better season than he had game tonight because he was not good at all tonight.
Coleman.
So yeah,
Yeah,
and we'll get some scoring out of him. Backlund's going to be, he is who he is, right? 15 goals, 15 to 20 goals. Um, I
yeah.
I think there's I think that's part of the issue is we've got too much depth and not enough top. You know what I mean? We
That's the
got we
thing,
got a lot
and
of depth players for goals, but not enough, 30, 40, 50 goal scorers, right?
yeah, and that's kind of to my point here. Greg asks, with how they played tonight, are they going to be bottom of the league team, or are they going to break the hearts and draft out of the top 10?
That is
I
the
don't
Flames mantra.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very Flames of them to do that, but
Mhm,
personally, I can't see it. You know, we came back tonight. Teams are still getting their legs. You know, their structures off. I just don't think that we have the guys up top. Like as much as I love Kuzmenko and Sharon Govich and Kadri's been really good for us over the last year. Uyghur's, you know, scoring like mad over the last year, and even Anderson, like I've noticed, I know Huska told him to start shooting again, and he's
mhm.
in the first game, not just the goal, but he was shooting a lot,
He
and
was
I
shooting a
really
lot.
appreciated
He
that. But
struggled in front of our net, which I think he'll improve on.
yeah, yeah,
I
me
think
too.
that that first goal there, where he essentially blocked Vladar, um, and then the second goal, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what zone he was trying to cover there. I don't know if he's playing man coverage or zone coverage, but he seems to be pretty confused in our zone at the moment.
Yeah,
But I have confidence that he's going to get back, to some sort of form that Anderson can be. At least I sure hope, because if he's not going to improve, we need him to improve so we can have some trade value.
yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think he was as lost as you do, but I don't think he was great when it
Yeah.
came to defense. I don't think he was lost to the tonight, but he has been lost a lot over the last year and a half or so. But I didn't see that so much tonight, but maybe I wasn't studying it um a lot.
I was watching him fairly closely, and then after the first couple of goals, and then you start looking at the replays, and you're like, why? So he starts from in front of the net, he goes into the corner to chase a guy, then he almost goes to the blue line to chase another, comes back and completely misses the assignment of the guy in front. And it's
Yeah.
like, where are you going, bud? Like that's forward territory. You protect the front of the net. That's your job. You know,
Yeah.
behind the net, in front of the net, not the blue line. But
Yeah, for sure.
and both times that he was playing like that, I don't think he was like that through the whole night. But both times he was doing that, it resulted in a goal.
Yeah. Fraggle says, I feel like he let himself be outclassed, which
Yeah,
I feel is
yeah, I
kind of exactly what you were saying.
yeah, I can agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know he's better than that, so I think that's what frustrates me more is because I know he is better and I expect more from him.
Yeah,
I'm
I see
confident that
that
he's
as
going to
well,
get
right?
back to
Like,
it. Yeah, I'm
you know
I'm
me, I've
confident
always
he'll
been
get
a
back
huge
to it. So
Anderson fan. Fuck, I have a jersey right there. But it,
got a couple.
I do feel like the last year and a half, again, and I hate to bring this up because it seems like it's been too long for it to still be a problem. But ever since he got hit by that car when he was on
Mhm.
his scooter in Detroit, I feel like he's been a little lost. Again, I didn't see it tonight, but in general, I feel like I want him to get back to the Rasmus Anderson that he was before that, because ever since then, he's kind of just been done.
He's in his head, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, how often do you hear that about professional athletes? They can't get out of their own head.
Jonathan Huberdeau.
Jonathan Huberto.
How
But
about that goal?
and a dirty goal too, right? In front of the net, getting whacked at, getting hit, and forcing his way through. That's a beautiful goal for him, I think.
He's not a
Good
he's
on him.
not a small guy, and
Mm,
I found a lot of the last couple years, not the whole time, but a lot of the last couple years, he's played small, right? Like he doesn't need to play like a giant, but he needs to realize that he's not Cam Atkinson out there. You know what I mean? He's not Nathan
yeah,
Gerby. He plays a lot of the time like he's tiny, but he's not. He
yeah,
needs to
yeah.
use his size a little more, and that's when he starts shrugging guys off and doing stuff like that.
I like watching him in the corners and along the boards because he's extremely tough to get off the puck. Like he's very sturdy on his feet. He takes a hit very well, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't go down very often. When he does, it's usually some sort of a weird circumstance. So I think I agree. He needs to play with more authority, and I think that also has to do with confidence when it comes to him, which is really unfortunate because he's a really good player when he's feeling it and playing with confidence. But if he's
Yeah.
not, holy shit, it's like night and day.
Yeah, and I can agree with you 100%. On the boards in the offensive zone, he's amazing. Like, and I'm not even joking. He's amazing on the boards in the
Mm.
offensive zone. Um, However, I feel like maybe not so much in the corners, like you were saying, and definitely not in the defensive zone. And if he can put the effort forward that he has on the sideboards in the offensive zone towards the rest of his game, I think he's gonna break out.
Mhm.
Breakout's the wrong word. Bounce back would be the words I'm looking for. Because
Breakout year for Jonathan Huberdeau. He had
yeah,
85 points.
yeah, you know what I
Yeah,
mean, though. I
I do.
just it sucks that we're talking about him like this because we know he has it, right?
Yeah,
It's not just that he scored 115 points one year. It's that he was well over a point a game for like 5 fucking years, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You don't do that and be actually bad at hockey. You just don't. I don't care who you're playing with, whether it's Barkov, whether it's Bennett, whether it's Duclair or Verhage or whoever else. Like, I don't care who you're playing with. You don't become a point a game player over 5 years and suck. You just don't.
Yeah.
Right. So
No,
he's
no,
got it in him. He
exactly.
just has to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. As as Fraggle says, he just needs to enjoy the game. He needs to have fun again, right?
Yeah. Blow up some more balloons.
Blow up some more balloons.
Yeah. And one thing I feel like this year, I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but for me, he's just got to have fun. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
this year I found, I don't know if it's by design or if it's just organic, but I find that the entire team is talking a lot about, you know, being like having fun. Like everyone's in there and having fun. The vibes are immaculate, as Mackenzie Weeker would say. You know what I mean? And it's not just those guys who are here for that, but it's everybody, right? It's
You know what's fun?
Nazem Kadri's been talking about it. Like everybody who's there seems like they want to be there, and it's not. There isn't a whole bunch of UFAs who are not sure what they're going to do. It's a bunch of players who want to be there because they're making the NHL for the first time, or they're in their second years and they're trying to make more of an impact every game, or it's even vets who just don't want to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think it's really telling too that Tyson Berry didn't play, and it's not because of his attitude or anything. I think he's got a great attitude, but um,
Yeah,
interesting
I
that we
thought that was
signed him
interesting.
just for him to not play.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we had guys at camp that could have not played. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know. I'm still pretty baffled by that signing, and I'll still say I'm still baffled by the Mantha signing because we're in a position to finally get some kids into the lineup and see what they can do, and then we start signing 30-year-olds.
yep.
That
And Gordie Howe hat trick for Mantha, and I
yeah,
totally, you can't say it wasn't exciting. You can't say it wasn't
yeah,
great. We bounced back and won that game. And Mantha was definitely the spark plug that started it and made it happen. in my
Mhm.
opinion. No, you can look at guys like Anderson and Huberdeau and Zari for finishing it, but Mantha started it, and
Yeah.
I still don't understand. Again, I don't understand, like you said, why he's here in the first place. I get the whole, oh, he's playing well with Huberdeau, or maybe he can get some chemistry with Huberdeau, but how many guys do we have to sign? How many players do we have to sign to play with Huberdeau? Did they have any chemistry tonight? I didn't see any chemistry between them tonight. I just saw
No.
Mantha playing well, which is great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. And if he can improve his trade value, because that's the only reason he's here, in my opinion, is for a trade. But
Yeah.
like, that spot should be Matthew Coronado's or William Stromgren's, or one of these young guys who started to show something, right? And for some reason, and on defense too, it's Tyson Berry and Joel Hanley instead of Hunter Brustevich and Artem Grushnikov and Jan Kuznetsov, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. But
Mm. Yeah, we
again,
could have.
I trust Conroy. And I feel like he's got a plan. So
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Mantha's spot could have been filled by Cole Schwint and then not have lost him for nothing.
yeah,
Not saying he was lighting it up at camp, but I mean that's just a scenario of us sending a player down because we had no more roster spots and then we lose them. Right?
yeah, and you're a lot higher on Schwint than I am. Like, I don't think he's a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. I think, like,
I think he had potential.
I
I
hope,
wouldn't say that I'm high on him. I was high on giving him a chance to see what he could do. Given given 5 to 10 games to see what he can actually produce this season. Because I feel like he grew um, his game quite a bit in the A last year, and I feel like he would have been an impact player at some point this year and next year. But
yeah,
that experiment is over, so I mean, it's business. I get it, so I've moved on. But
yeah,
like
and
I
I've
said,
moved on too. But
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 he could have taken that spot instead of signing a 30-year-old to come in and eat up minutes.
and I also
Even
think that
Bishop, give Clark Bishop a chance. I mean, he fought pretty hard in the preseason, in my opinion. I thought he did quite well, especially early on.
he
He
played
kind of
well.
started fading away near the end, but I would have been comfortable with him getting a shot to play a bunch of games this year as well. And I'm sure some of these guys are going to get called up, throughout the season. As injuries happen, or or people are going through slumps or whatever the scenario is going to be. This is obviously the year where you want to bring these guys up and see what they have, so we can see what we have in the organization, so we can start drafting properly.
Yeah, just to rewind on Schwint a little bit.
Mhm.
Nobody could have seen the Rooney hit happen. The Miller hit on Rooney happening. Um, Again, to me, it was a complete fluke that he fell that way, and it ended up possibly ending a large portion of his season. Like, that was no good. But
Mhm.
wouldn't it be nice to have Cole Schwint right now? Like, as much as I'd like to bring up a guy like Stromgren, or put Coronado in there, like fourth line center, Cole Schwint and his style,
Mhm.
you know, fits the fourth line center role. He's a physical, relatively defensive, but mostly just physical, speedy. He's kind of like Pospisil light, but he's
Mhm.
a center, and I don't think Pospisil
Yeah,
should be center. But
no, that experiment needs to come to an end immediately.
yeah, even
But
though he scored,
yeah, no, absolutely. Um, yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Like that's what we need is positional players right now, and we lost a center. And we're currently trying to force a winger to be a center, and it's not good in my opinion. That's not good coaching.
Yeah,
Sure, we
well,
did
I'd
it
rather.
in the Worlds, but like that's not good coaching in my opinion.
I don't think. I think that comes from the top because I remember hearing Connie talk about it right during the Worlds. He's like, "Oh, Potsby's been on at center at the Worlds, and he's been so good. And then he got hurt, and we want to try it out. And then ever since then, it's kind of been like that. The narrative has been pushed ever since then. Um, and again, like I trust Conroy. If Pospisil ends up being terrible at center, there's no way that either Conroy or Huska is going to leave it like that. Um,
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
right? Like neither of them are going to push something like that if it's not working.
Yeah,
In my opinion, I think they're not as stubborn as Daryl was, and that's just something we're used to seeing, whether it be
yeah,
Daryl or whoever else in the past.
yeah. That's fair. I mean, I would think that that's not going to be the case all summer long. That's for sure. Um, at
It'd
least
be
I,
weird if it was the case all summer long.
you're right. I don't know. The weather's still weird in Calgary. I'm not used to wearing shorts in October this far and for this many days, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm used to having a few days worth, but yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out. I'll get past it. Yeah.
yeah. Last question for the day. Fraggle again saying, "What the fuck do we do with Hubie?" Um, I don't know. Let him continue being better than he was. Like the last half year, maybe the last third of the year last year, he's played actually, I thought, well, not really well, but well in comparison to his first year and a half in Calgary. And I thought that he started fairly well in this game today. And it just, like,
It's
what else can we
it's
do? We can't not play him.
yeah,
I,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, you can't not play the $10 million contract. Obviously everybody knows at the moment he's being paid too much for what he's producing, but the unfortunate scenario is you can't do anything with the player. You can't send him down. He's got, he has control. He's got, the price tag is way too high. Nobody is going to try and trade for that contract unless we're eating at least 50% of it.
Or unless we're taking like a fucking Pierre Luc Dubois or someone who's an
Yeah,
equally
and then
terrible contract, right? Like
you're just stuck with another player like that,
another
right?
bad contract.
You know, I personally would rather, if given the option between that and keeping him, my preference would be to keep him. I'm sure he's good with the young players and can teach them. I mean, if he can teach two players how to pass properly, which is something that has plagued the Flames for about 15 years, then sure, I think it's a win in some capacity. I'm trying to find the good the good in the contract, right? Obviously, we all know it's way too much money for what he's producing, but it is what it is. We're sitting at $18 million worth of cap space right now, so the contract isn't exactly hurting us at the moment. And if he can start amping it up, and who knows, in 2 years, 3 years, maybe it becomes a movable asset.
So to me, here's the thing with Huberto and his contract. If you, whoever you trade him for, if you're going to trade him for someone without eating a bunch of money, like for instance, I'll say again, Pierre Luc Dubois. You
Mhm.
trade him, let's say, straight across, just for the sake of saying it, for Pierre Luc Dubois. You're getting, you're trading away a player who has in the past been really, really, really fucking good
Mhm.
and is a good locker room guy for a guy who is not a locker room guy and has proven in the past that he can be like slightly above mediocre at best. And you're getting a very similar contract back. Like, there's nobody I can think of in the league that you can trade that contract for straight across that you're gonna, like. There's no point. Like, it's one problem or the other, right? And
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
Dubois, it's several problems, but then there's other guys, right? Like there's other guys out there who have similar contracts who are problems, but you're getting back a problem no matter what you do. And you know, at least with Huberto, that the locker room likes him and that he's got it in
Yeah.
him somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, in that scenario. Pierre is like 5 years younger. The contract is $2 million less. They end at the same time. But in my opinion, I don't know if it truly is the case.
The
Pierre
character.
seems like he's not particularly liked everywhere he's been. Right. So, I
That's
mean,
a really generous thing to say.
I'm trying to be nice here, man.
He's
It's a new
legitimately
season.
disliked everywhere he's gone.
All right, he's a fucking asshole. All right, that's what I was meaning to say. I just didn't want to come out and say it. You pushed me into this corner, Dylan.
And he's lazy.
Um,
Like
and
I
he's lazy.
can't
Yeah,
say,
I don't want him on my team in any capacity. There's no reason for it. Yeah, we'd save $2 million, but that's it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I don't want him on the team. I don't think he's good in the locker room. I don't think he's good on the ice.
And Huberto helps us
Where
hit the cat floor as well during
that's
this,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Without the likes of Huberto, we would have to bring in Pierre
Dubois.
just to hit the floor. And
Yeah.
and nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. Or we
Like,
could have just given Barry 7 mil and be fine, right?
yeah, yeah. That's a move I make in on video games is sometimes I'll be rebuilding and I'll just be like, you know what? This shit player will get fucking $8 million
Yeah.
just so I can reach the cap floor. Don't do that though in real life, please.
Don't do it in fantasy either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thanks everyone for showing up and chatting. Make sure you subscribe, share us with your friends, all that good stuff. Um, Thank you to Fraggle and Ryan and Greg and everyone else who commented. Um, Make sure you check out Rocky Mountain Maniacs, the band that wrote our new theme song. And cheers, big win! What an exciting game! That was an insanely exciting game.
That was a lot of fun.
That
Yeah, it
was a
really
lot.
was. I was pretty down in the dumps after the first, but I tell you what, they reeled me back in. I'm probably going to watch the game on Saturday now. I was on the fence. I was
I,
on the fence. I
you
was,
know what? Just looking at that background behind you,
yeah,
I thought you were
yeah, yeah.
probably going to skip it.
I was going to start selling shit, after the first period. I was just like, fuck it. Like, I know I've got like 30 grand worth of stuff in this room. And I was like, I could easily put that down on another team, which I'm not doing. That's never going to happen. But
Yeah. And yes,
I'm,
Fraggle, we're not going to do it every show or every game, obviously, because on weekends specifically, I work late, and on weekdays, Chris works early, so it's not.
yeah, I gotta be at work in 5 hours.
Yeah, so it's not really doable for us to do it most days, but I don't know. I think we could probably commit to another 8, 10 throughout the season.
I think we'll do more than we did last year. I feel.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I think yeah, we'll I think we'll do a couple a month, right? For sure.
Thank you for sharing and letting your friends know,
Yeah,
Fraggle.
yeah. We appreciate the support for sure.
Yeah. All
All right,
right.
everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Until
Go
next
Flames,
time,
go.
go Flames, go.